Hi there. Welcome to the Feel It Alcohol Free podcast. And let's get straight into today's question. A listener wrote in and she's 31 days alcohol free today. Yay! So that's the longest streak I've ever had in months.
Yeah, that's so good.
And today's the first real struggle I've had with the wine witch showing up all day. There are days when I feel great and it's easy, and then there are days like today where it's a real struggle. I just want the struggle to be over. I feel like the fading effect bias gets me every time. The longer I go, the more I think a drink seems fine. I know it's not, but the brain is not accepting that answer. So this is such a great question, and it involves like fading effect bias and cognitive dissonance. And like, Susan, do you want to tackle this first?
Sure. Well, I think first we should define what fading effect bias is for our listeners. So fading effect bias is the tendency for unpleasant emotions to fade more over time than pleasant emotions. And that's actually a positive thing, for instance, like in childbirth, right? And it is a self-protective measure. Our brains unconsciously let go of the intensity of negative emotions so that we can preserve our brain space and our energy. But in our alcohol journey, it can cause us to forget the negative impact that alcohol had on our lives. And then those thoughts of drinking start up again. And so being aware of this concept of fading effect bias can help us prepare for this to happen if it happens, usually in the first 3 months. So this listener is right there in the 31 days.
Yeah.
So if you find yourself longing for those good old days, you can compassionately keep in mind all of the ways that alcohol was negatively affecting your life and the reasons that you stopped drinking. I like to focus on the positive, the reasons you decided to stop drinking versus only looking at the negative. But how about you, Ruby? What do you think about that?
The fading effect, well, you mentioned like pregnancy really quick, but I want to explain that. Like when you're going through labor, you're like, I'm never going to have a baby
doing this again.
Yeah, I remember actually probably screaming those words. I'm never going to have a baby again. And then you see your baby and you fall in love. And a year later, you're like, well, I think I could do that again. So, so that's what, this happens with alcohol too. And I have some tools and tactics I'm going to share a little bit later in the episode. But, I hear this all the time, and it's also about kind of the cognitive dissonance. It's that tug of war in your brain, when you're torn between what you believe or like the conscious and then kind of the subconscious, and what you end up doing isn't what you necessarily want to do. So those kind of go together. Cognitive dissonance is kind of like that mental stress. You might even call it the wine witch. Some people call it that. We're now more talking about but that battle, like it's that mental itch we have to scratch. It feels like, for me, it was like, I'm not going to drink. And why am I going and putting my hand on a bottle of wine, and then saying, I told myself I wasn't going to drink. I don't want to drink. And then you pour the glass. And it's this battle, like, don't do it, but I want to do it, or I'm going to do it. And then for me, it was almost like a little like F it button, or that, I'm just going to do it kind of decision kicks in, and it's based on like habit and kind of like you're tired of that battle in the head. And so a lot of times you just kind of give in. So, yeah, so that's the cognitive dissonance piece. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that is, I love what you said there, Ruby, about the F it button. Because we push the F it button because of that battle in our brain. And so if you can kind of let go of one of the ropes imagine a tug of war. If you're playing tug of war and you let go of one of the ropes, like there's no tug of war anymore, the other person just falls down. And so it's like you want to let go of that rope. You want to stop that fight in your brain, because it's that fight in your brain that causes you to want to push the F it button and just drink, right? And I know in my experience around fading effect bias, I just had to keep reminding myself, and I used to kind of play it forward. Like my brain would go, oh, you could just have one. You weren't that bad, you know? And then I would go, is that true? I would just question the thought. Is that true? Is it just going to be one? It was never one. Never. So it's like, no, it's not going to just be one. And even when my husband would sometimes go, I kind of miss like that longing for the good old days, right? I kind of miss sitting out on the deck and having wine in the sunshine. And I'm like, well, did you miss when Mean Susan came out after I'd had too much wine? And he's like, no. So I had, no. And so just reminding yourself of those little things. Like I even had to remind him because I could have let that draw me in, right? To the good old days. Yeah, it was so fun and sitting on the deck. And it's like, guess what? We can sit on the deck in the sunshine and be together and have a great time. And I just don't have ethanol in my glass. Like keep the ritual, ditch the alcohol. So sometimes even what we're romanticizing or what we're, the good old days, you can still have all of that. You just don't have alcohol. Alcohol doesn't add anything to those events and things that you're pining over. Mm-hmm. So that is, that's kind of what I did in order to help me get over the hump of that fading effect bias when those thoughts would come up.
Yeah. So I'll go right into my kind of tactic that I do with clients around fading effect bias. And I call it the impact art tactic. It's actually about art. I love art. I'm very visual. For me, I think this is such a good tool because you want to tap into your subconscious, and you can do that with journaling or artwork. A lot of times you can really get in there. So to stave off fading effect bias or romanticizing, like you said it, like romanticizing the alcohol. And so I actually want you to bring up an image of what alcohol looked like in your life when it was the worst. The worst time. Maybe it's that middle of the night when you're laying there in bed, or maybe it's the next morning when you feel terrible, or some time, and you actually draw what alcohol looked like in like that last, maybe for me it was like I drew a picture of what it looked like in my last year of drinking, and it just felt like the wine glass could never be big enough. I was chained to it. I felt isolated. My life was getting smaller and smaller. I was unhappy. So now, instead of romanticizing like a beautiful glass of wine, I could bring up this picture, this drawing, because you tapped into your subconscious. So instead of like bringing up a beautiful like glass of wine, you could bring up this image. And another thing that made me think about it, because someone just posted this, there's this like YouTube video going around where it starts out at a bar where people are drinking, so fun, but it goes all the way to the end of the night when maybe people are falling over, maybe vomiting, passing out, fighting. Like all of that is what really, like you mentioned, maybe fighting or becoming, the mean Susan or something. So the reality is this fading effect bias is just looking at the good times, right? And not the actuality is that you might pass out or do something you regret. Yeah.
Yeah. So I always think
Mm-hmm.
That I love that tool. That I'm so excited to hear about that. What is it called again? Impact art. Ooh, I just really want to try that. I think I've seen the picture because you shared it on some of our group coaching groups with you, and you're sitting there and you have the chain and you're tiny and the glass of wine is huge and there's like this chain to you and the glass of wine. So powerful, Ruby.
And it means that one glass is never one glass. I needed bottle and then a second bottle. It just kept growing. The glass literally could never be big enough until I pass out. So I will post the picture in our Facebook community group, when this episode airs.
Yeah. That's so great. Well, for me, I think remember Miami. I think my husband, and this also goes to like vacationing and thinking that you're going to drink on vacation too. Like it'll be okay, Right. We just had too many drinks. We started off and it's fine. It's wine at this cute little cafe, and then it's wine with dinner, and then or maybe it was a martini to start with, and then wine more. And my husband and I got in the biggest fight. And I just walked down the street of Miami by myself saying F you and walked away. I didn't even know where I was going, totally dangerous. And then the next morning we were going on a cruise, and I will find this picture and post it. There's a picture of me, and we had a balcony room, and I'm sitting over the balcony, and I look like garbage, and I felt like garbage. I looked so bad. I was so hungover and just felt like crap. And this is how I'm starting this, Caribbean cruise vacation, just feeling so awful. And, so sometimes just a thought, come up with your story or your picture, and remembering that, keeping that, I just say, remember Miami.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
a great
cue
idea
to my brain. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a cue to my brain to go, I don't want to do that anymore. And then I tap into my want power, which is, I don't want that life anymore. And I already know how amazing and the listener that wrote this question was like, I know this isn't true. I know my life is so much better without alcohol. Why do I still come back to these thoughts? It's reminding yourself also not just about the bad, but about the good, about how amazing your life is without alcohol. Focusing on that, I think, is what I would also recommend, because that's why I always do what I call play it forward 2x. I like to play it forward. What will happen if I do drink? Like Susan, is it really going to be 1? No, it's going to be 3. You're going to wake up in the morning and feel like crapola and be really mad at yourself and hate yourself. The end, right? And then, but who wants to sit there in that, right? Then I think I do play it forward 2x the second time, and I think, well, how will I feel if I don't drink?
Right.
I'm going to feel amazing. I'm going to feel like a badass. I'm going to feel so good that I didn't give in, and I'm going to wake up in the morning and feel great about myself. And so I like to end on the good, because then you walk away going, yeah, I don't want to drink because I'm going to feel amazing and I'm a badass, and
Yeah.
And so I really love to do that.
I agree that we want to focus on the positives, on this journey, but for fading effect bias to bring up, because that's when you're romanticizing. It's just a tool. And you could have even, drawn that Miami picture, right? So that you could just bring it up. I really, like I said, I'm a visual person. If you know you're a visual person, then this will work for you. But maybe other people, it's better to journal or do something else. But I want to go back to her question, because if we go back to this wine witch and the thought, right, or the belief, there's an underlying belief there in your subconscious that maybe you're missing out, that or wine is delicious or beautiful, or these listen to your language and what actual words are coming in and thoughts. Because if you still believe wine is beautiful, then you might still keep having this cognitive dissonance around wanting wine. So this is the kind of thing that Susan and I would work with our clients, really digging into those beliefs and romanticizing wine to turn it around. We call it turnarounds, and turn it around, or challenging those thoughts. So, did you have a tactic that you wanted to share around this?
I kind of shared it when I said, I asked myself, is it true? That's the questions that we ask ourselves when we're doing that thought work. And I call this being the boss of your brain. This idea of you don't have to believe everything you think. So if you start thinking that wine is, romanticizing wine, you can go, wait a minute. Is that true? And get into this practice of questioning your thoughts. And this is for a control freak like me. I just had this realization when I was starting to learn this stuff. One day, I remember clearly where I was. I was driving on the 95 coming home from a friend's house. And all of a sudden I was listening and learning more about this idea of questioning your thoughts and doing acts or doing turnarounds, a thought turnaround on it. And all of a sudden I had this realization, I'm the boss of my brain. I actually can control what I think, or I can question it. I don't have to believe everything I think. And it was just a realization, like nobody really teaches you these things, right, in life. You just go around thinking that everything you think is true, and, and that you don't have to question these thoughts.
Yeah.
So that's really what, the question, is it true? So I started just sort of going around doing that with everything. Is it true that alcohol is romantic for me? I also had that experience, and I think I've shared this though, where it can be true, but not true for me.
Okay.
Like I can look out and I can see, this was my trip to New York with my daughter, and this was about 9 months into my journey. And we went out to dinner, and you see all these glittering wine glasses and all the beautiful twinkle lights. And it's this, New York atmosphere, restaurants. And I looked at them all and went, oh yeah, this is beautiful. But I don't drink. And I likened it. The thought that came to me was, it's like a vegetarian smelling a hamburger and saying, oh, that smells good, but I don't eat meat. And I have reasons why I don't eat meat. I have convictions. And it's like, oh, that wine looks beautiful and it's a beautiful atmosphere, but I don't drink. And I have reasons I don't drink. And I have convictions and reasons why I don't drink. And so you don't have to fight with your brain to vilify alcohol, because your brain is going to have trouble believing that this is true if you're looking out and it does look romantic, right? So rather than fight that thought, it can be, that looks romantic, but it's not romantic for me, because remember Miami, I'm going to end up, saying F you and walking down the street and having a hangover the next day. So it's not true for me,
So both and, right?
Yeah.
And I want to share a realization that I had. You talked about that it's just like you had this realization that you can be the boss of your brain around your thoughts. I had a realization that I could be the boss of my brain around feelings, or the boss of my heart. Like I always thought feelings, they just happened to you, right? When I was drinking. But now I realize that I have more control over my feelings, or I can do things like staying above 50%, where you bump up your feelings. So we do have, I love this. We have the ability to be the boss of our brains and our feelings, and not just willy-nilly, let the thoughts take over or the feelings take over, because and then the behavior, right, takes over. So we can do these things where we're questioning our thoughts, questioning our feelings, and we don't have to act on the thoughts and feelings. We just don't.
Yeah.
They're just coming.
Yeah.
Our feelings are coming and they're temporary. Our thoughts are coming and automatic and they're temporary. And we can step back with curiosity. I love that you said that. Like, and do we really need to do this? No, it's just a thought, just a feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a thought. I love that. And then it's a thought that I can question. And when you start to question it, you get your prefrontal cortex, your thinking brain involved, and you're not just running on automatic pilot of your subconscious brain that goes, and you're dropping the rope. You're dropping the tug of war. You're just kind of like, you're not like, I want to drink. No, you don't. I want to drink. No, you don't.
Yeah.
The tug of war. You're going, I had this thought. Not battling it. You're like, what's going on with this thought? Is it true? Is it something I really want to act on? Like, you just get this sense of agency and control back in your life.
Yes.
That is one of the biggest benefits, amazing benefits of the alcohol-free journey, I think, is just getting that power of choice back.
Love it.
Yeah.
So I want to segue into the question we ask at the end of every episode. So, Susan, what are you doing to feel lit these days?
Oh my goodness. So I really have been battling lately a lower mood set point. I have a lot going on. I've had some anxious thoughts and I'm really working through those. And so I have actually been doing this practice called savoring, which is where you consciously find joy in the everyday moments and savor them. So, for example, I mean, I could just get so into tunnel vision and I'm eating and I just don't even like it's gone. And I'm like, where did that food go? Like it's just gone because I'm like eating and working at the same time. Right. And then all of a sudden I didn't enjoy it. Or just anything, taking a shower. So taking a moment to just feel the hot water on my back and enjoy just the luxury of the steam and maybe even have one of those shower steamers or an aromatherapy with just some scents that just brighten my mood. Savoring my morning coffee, just taking that moment to just go, oh gosh, it smells good smelling it, tasting that first sip, feeling the warmth of the mug on my hands, and even having gratitude, bringing gratitude into that for this delicious coffee, gratitude for hot water in my shower, savoring the first few bites or all of the bites of your meal. It's supposed to be really good for your digestion to eat slower, not hose down your food like I do, to just take a moment and go, just to taste the flavors, to go for a walk and not have a podcast on or not be listening even to music, but to just walk and look at the trees and look at the leaves and look at the flowers. And, so that is savoring, and I have actually been doing that lately, and it makes a difference. Even just talking about it has brightened my mood because life is beautiful, and there's so many beautiful things in every moment that we just sort of fly by on, 90 miles per hour as we're going through our day. Like I can look out my window right now, and there's beautiful daffodils out there that I love, this gorgeous little pop of yellow. And instead of just going, oh yeah, flowers, I can go, oh my gosh, look at that beautiful pop of yellow. I love daffodils and I'm so happy I planted those there. And they just bring me joy and just allow myself to feel that joy. So
I love this practice, savoring. So it's like we bring up versions of the same thing over and over again because it's so true. It's noticing either the beauty or your senses, right? What you're smelling or hearing or seeing. So I also have those shower bursts. So those are so fun. You put in a little shower burst and it's got that aromatherapy in your shower. But savoring. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm going to try it this week. I always try whatever you suggest. And I've been doing some feet up the wall that you suggested, a while ago and different things. And I think you're doing some of the things I do. I don't know about the shower yet, but the cold shower.
The cold shower? No.
No?
No, but I want to try impact art. I really want to try the impact art. I'm not a great drawer, but I do maybe even a creative storytelling because I used to be somewhat of a little bit of a creative writer. I'm trying to think of how I might incorporate that. I really love that idea.
Yeah, and the art could be painting, drawing, music, writing, a collage, whatever you want to do. Mine was stick figures, okay? So I'm not this has been such a great episode. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. And please feel free to join our Facebook group. It's a community, and we have people that just celebrated, milestones in our community. And
it's so exciting.
It's really fun. Okay.
I'd love for people to even comment in our Facebook group or anywhere on our Instagram or anything if they've tried some of our Feel Lit suggestions or even some of the tactics. Like every episode has a tactic to help you in your alcohol-free journey. And then we talk about, the things that we're doing to feel lit. And I would love to hear from people who've tried some of these things and what you think and what is your experience and what is your take on it. Because we individualize these things, right? We take them and make them our own. And or I'd love to see some impact art that people may try. Okay, that would be so fun.
I'll share mine, and then people can maybe post their pictures or ideas underneath. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I might write a poem. Maybe I'll try.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to the next time. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.